So I guess diving right in, getting into the state of the industry, we are post strikes finally, as far as the writers and the actors. Therefore, $1 million spec screenplays are being sold hand over fist constantly. What is the real look at the industry? And I guess I'll start with Felicity. What are you seeing as you're out there? Because I know you're on the front lines along with Max and Shayna, engaging different companies about trying to move projects.
Thank you. Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Felicity. What we're seeing out there at the moment is there's still a bit of trepidation. I think everyone hoped when the writer's strike were over and the actor's strike that it was suddenly like, hey, it's 2024, off we go. But actually, we're still considering IATSE. IATSE is still working out their deal. And I think during the writer's strike and after, there's been a real sense of, are we making films the right way? Are we creating TV shows the right way? And so there has been a shuffling in the industry about, I think there's been a reset in companies. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of jobs were lost in development. So everyone's trying to work out, how do we fit now? I think TV, the thing we have heard is that TV has contracted. So less willing to take risks on new writers. They want more established shows. And for features, I think, the tentpole features are always going to be continuing. That's a business that's well and truly settled. But I think at the Oscars, when the person that was American Fiction, the director of American Fiction, said, can we do more movies, smaller movies rather than one big movie? And I think there has been a sense of optimism around smaller movies and the independent scene. And so I think, especially if you are starting out or that you are looking to put your career together, then if you're not known, if you haven't got a massive career already, then I think looking towards the independent filmmaking market is probably a good idea.
Yeah, that was such a tremendous quote during his acceptance speech, because for the longest time it was a slam dunk. Oh, we put $200 million into this Marvel movie and we'll make $1 billion, and that paradigm doesn't exist the same anymore, which is a big bummer for Disney. But it might open the door, I'm hoping, for a lot of smaller movies. And smaller than $200 million can still be a substantial film. But hopefully that leads to more production. Does anybody else? I'd love for this to become just a conversation. So if anybody has anything else that they want to add on this topic, feel free to.
I think that from somebody who's trying to make my own movies, besides working with ISA, I'm also a screenwriter and producer and reluctant director, as I say. I think the hustle is just still what you have to do. If you want your movie made, you have to do more than just write. And that means learning new skills. It means figuring out where you can get money. It means meeting people who you can reach out to. The hustle just continues, and it just, everyone's hungry. So keep your optimism up, keep your energy up, and really believe in your projects. Have a really good project that you're going out with, and try to find a tribe of people who are going to help you and can help push that forward, and go make it.
Yeah. And bless you, Felicity. It's almost exactly what I was going to say in terms of what Shayna just said. I think that if you put a positive, and I don't even think it's a spin, it's just if you look at it positively, figure out what you can control and do that, as opposed to relying on the outside industry that feels like it's so outside, to be the arbiter, of your success. What can you do yourself? And don't be too not blindfolded, but
tunnel
visioned about just writing. There are other things you can work on, and writing just screenplays, but there are other things you can work on, from online journals to blog posts to creating an Instagram account with stories and try to get your name out there, or make a short. There are so many other things you can do, but also try to start small. If you've never had a project produced, if you've never sold anything or set anything up, try to start small. Try to figure out a way to make a movie for $75,000. or put together an amazing sizzle for a series and put this huge, unbelievable pitch deck together for a project that is really fantastic. You have to do more work, but I look at that in a positive way where, okay, now the power has shifted. Not about power, but the responsibility has shifted a little bit that much more on the writer to be creating these things yourself.
Yeah.
Make a movie for 10 grand. Do a GoFundMe and
I just say 75 is a lot.
support you. Yeah, and make something that's 5 minutes long, that's 10 grand, that you can get in festivals and that you can put out there. You can make a website, put it out there. It's the best way to kind of get yourself noticed beyond the words on the page. It's much more than just that at this point. You have to somewhat be a personality, and your voice shows on the page, but it also has to show by talking to people and putting yourself out there. So unfortunately, if you're a massive introvert, which a lot of us are, you still have to practice and figure out how to work through that. And if you really want your story told, figure out how to do it.
Yeah. So I wanted to call out this great comment from Diane. Hi, Diane.
Mm-hmm.
Learned to love the hustle of
Diane.
making a short film, so much so that it inspired me to make a feature. Daunting, but not impossible. And yeah, all that just becomes experience that you can build on. And maybe you find out that I've got this fascination or enthusiasm for something that I didn't know I'd ever want to do. And it sends you on a whole different career path, which is exciting as well. And yeah, as Craig and Shada were saying, 75 grand, I know in the Hollywood side is nothing. But in the human side, it's like, that's still 75.
The reason I brought that up, though,
It feels like
one of my
it's a lot.
writers was saying he got his first movie made, and he directed it for $75,000 because he got 75 different people to give him $1,000. So that's kind of where my brain was.
Sure.
So, I mean, it's possible if you have that many people in your, in
Can
your
I
network.
meet his friends? Whoever that has 75 people who are going to give him $1,000. Hi, I'm Shayna. Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
But that,
It's hard it's hard
haven't
asking
seen-
for money.
Sorry, what?
No, it's hard asking for money from, people that It's amazing that he's got 75 people, but on some level, he either was networking great, right? He was friendly and engaging, had a great pitch for his story. He convinced people to put that money in, and one after another gets a little bit easier because once you get the first 35, now you're probably getting some momentum. It's the first couple that are hardest. But like really understanding your story and knowing what you're wanting to sell, so to speak, and understanding your own voice, all those things come into play. I mean, one way I've told this story, everybody knows the story from the ISA, but one way that I raised money for my pilot was just being at the dog park and chit-chatting with some people, dog owners, and guy asked me, what I do. I told him about making some short films. And he wanted to look at one. He thought it was so funny. He's like, what are you doing next? I said, well, I'm raising money to shoot a pilot. He's like, how much do you need? And he wrote me a check the next day. And that was just from being passionate about what I want to do with my life, what I wanted to do with my life, and make this story that meant a lot to me, because it was a very, it was kind of a coming of age, quarter life crisis type thing that I experienced and I wrote about. And so I had the passion to pitch it. And got that after he saw something I did that was really small, just a small little short film, that motivated him to go ahead and help fund the pilot.
I think the main thing about all the things we're talking about, it seems to me, if you don't mind me butting in there, is that you mustn't see it as a chore that you have to do this extra work. In fact, I would say see it as a blessing. It's I don't mean religiously, but just as a blessing in the fact that you get to have more of a say. So when you are creating your short, you can put your vision together. You can get a group of people together that you really like. You can make sure it has the actors that that you want to cast in it. So you get a bit more control. Same as building a pitch deck. Before now, it's like everything, filming and everything used to be so far away from the normal human being because it was so expensive, films, cameras, all that stuff. Whereas now you can film stuff on your phone. So understanding that you have more control and that your vision isn't only written now, you can actually bring your own artistic and creative ability to the projects, even your pitch decks, in the short films. in the other materials that you're creating, including writing yourself a succinct and beautiful pitch. That means that when you are meeting someone in a dog park,
Right.
you've got something to talk about.
No, I think it's a really
And
good point. You have to
practice,
be prepared. Get prepared when someone asks, who are you? What are you doing? Or what do you do? What are you working on? And if you're not prepared to just relay that, or at least not comfortable enough yet with yourself, it shows. I remember Craig relaying a story that he heard, in terms of Bryan Cranston, and you could probably tell it better than me, Craig, but Cranston was saying when he understood that auditioning was the job, that's when everything became easier for him. That was the job. His job was to audition. The reward was the actual gig that he gets paid for. And it's such a healthy way of looking at this. Like, our job is to just write and create as much as we possibly can so that the world and the industry knows who we are. So when Cranston's going on all these auditions, which actors, and Felicity can speak to this better than I can, you go on so many freaking auditions that it's exhausting. And after a while, it's like, what am I doing? And it feels the same way as a writer. It's like, how many screenplays can I write that nobody reads or they don't want anything? This is a job. This is what we do.
There's also, though, the thinking, that, I've written a screenplay, I've got quarterfinals, or I've maybe even made my way into higher than quarterfinals, that I'm going to spend the next 5 years of my life trying to sell that project and not developing something new. You do need to keep at it and keep working on the next project and not sit in the one, because just because a project gets some accolades doesn't mean the world is ready to see it, right? It could be a well-written script. You could demonstrate your craft, but, and there may be, your voice is being represented clearly in there, but you can't sit on that one project. That's one of the things I was thinking about earlier, is just like, don't sit there and wait for this one project to become the thing that is your breakthrough. You got to keep at it, because you never know what's going to cycle into time.
Yeah, things do come around. I was just thinking about, to that point and to Max's point about Bryce Dallas Howard. I don't know if anyone saw about that, Ron Howard's daughter. And if you think, she's got quite a lot, she's got a few connections in the business, right? And her grandmother said to her, when she found out she wanted to be an actress, she was like, why do you want to be an actress? And she said, well, I just love telling stories. And she said, well, you know that you have to know that you're not going to get most of your auditions. And she was like, yeah, no, it's fine. But obviously she thinks, my dad's Ron Howard, I'm going to get a lot of these auditions. It was, she did 42 auditions before she got her first callback, and her first 42. And that's Ron Howard's daughter. You know what I mean? And there was her actor, she said her acting manager was, how have you kept going? Most people would have given up. After 10, no, thank you very much.
Morgan Freeman didn't get his first gig, which was Electric Company, until he was in his 40s, and he had been auditioning for like 10 years, and it might have been less than that.
He probably was a theater actor before that. He
was acting.
Yeah.
And Bryce, I consulted Bryce. I worked with Bryce on 2 of the projects that she was trying to write, and what I loved about her is that she was always so open-minded and humble about knowing there's more to learn. There's something else that she can learn, and this is, at the time she was a big name. Now she's become even bigger. And what I've noticed about, and I worked with a few people who are kind of at that level, they're all open to knowing more and being better and improving constantly. And too many people that I've worked with feel that they're there already. Yeah. And that they don't have that much more to learn.
That's what I'm saying about like winning an award or two, or even winning a competition completely, or getting into some sort of fellowship, or getting into some sort of writing program. These are all great things, but you have to keep at it, keep working on your craft, and keep developing the next project, because you just don't know which one will, get you in there.
Well, and those Oscar winners, everybody who won an Oscar this year, they still have to go out and work. They're not just being handed projects all the time. I mean, some of them are probably being offered certain things, but there are choices to be made, and especially the writers. Paul Haggis, I interviewed Paul Haggis a few years ago, and he's still writing things on spec. He's writing a script to see if he can sell it. Nobody's just giving him all this money.